Since the early days of the emergence of a phenomenon called video games to date, many good games have been produced. Each of these good games has affected the lives of our gamers and shaped our thoughts and memories. They created worlds for us that had never seen the like anywhere, and the narrators were stories like them in no book. But there are games whose role has gone far beyond making good memories or entertaining us. One of these games is undoubtedly Doom, which divided the video game world into two parts before and after itself. A highly current-making and controversial title that forever changed the concept of game making and made the gaming industry a much more serious industry. Doom made many young people interested in programming so they could make a title like this game. It caused many parents to sit and play alongside their child. It created a competitive atmosphere in the gaming industry, and the creators became more determined to take the next steps. By designing and creating the game, John Carmack and John Romero made their name forever in the world of technology and entertainment, creating a work that was used for years as a model for 3D games. We can talk about good and well-made games for hours, but when it comes to flow games, the number of games is much more limited. The flow game means a work like Resident Evil 4, which with its new mechanisms, the most important of which was the camera mechanism on the shoulder when marking, gave a new concept to the third-person shooter style and fear and survival. The streaming game is Metal Gear, which can be named the world's first modern game. Streaming means what Grand Theft Auto did with the concept of freedom of action in the gaming world, and the fifth version of the game became the best-selling entertainment product in history. Dare to say that if it weren't for Doom, there wouldn't have been many games. Doom was a revolution. Until a few years after Doom's release, it was not a title that was directly or indirectly modeled on the game. Doom, like many other influential games, did not rely on the same thing, and in later generations, with the release of high-quality versions, it solidified its footing as one of the best action games in history. In this video, I have discussed 3 reasons why I think the main reasons Doom has become one of the most streamed games in history. The first reason was the game's immersive 3D graphics, which had no rivals in those years. When the rest of the game makers were making 2D games, Romero and Carmack created a world that was several steps more advanced and engaging than the world of games at the time. Doom was actually the starter of a new stream, after which the creators began to build bigger games and more gripping spaces. Doom offered something completely new not only in the field of space, but also in the field of gameplay. The game was designed to bring it to the audience's eyes and ears through the environment and gameplay instead of directly narrating the story. The narrow corridors that led to open environments, the enemies of hell, each of whom uniquely challenged the gamer, and the strange guns that made gamers so enthusiastic. Doom was designed to give the gamer a sense of power and was quite successful in doing so. In this game you are not afraid of the demons and giants of the game, but those who are afraid of you. This sense existed even in the last game of the series, Doom Eternal, and conveyed the sense of confidence that a Doom game should convey to the gamer in a complete way. The unnamed character of the series, without saying anything, is one of the most popular heroes in the world of video games, which means the art of creators in environmental storytelling. In addition, Doom was the beginning of a new chapter in the field of multiplayer online games. It's true that later other games were able to expand the concept and bring it closer to today's form, but it was Doom who for the first time created a space where gamers could play side by side in a 3D environment. With the experience they gained from making this massive game, Doom creators were able to release the Quake game in 1996, which appeared much stronger in the online segment than Doom. Doom also made the use of mods popular. This may not seem like an important issue, but I have to say, these mods made many beginner programmers or those who had never been active in the field of gaming ever to be interested in this field. In a generous move, John Carmack made the source of the game code available in 1997 so that everyone would add something to the game code or learn something from it based on their creativity. If Mr. Carmack's name is at the top of the list of the most influential people in the video game world today, that's why he not only revolutionized the gaming industry, but with his foresight made many gamers interested in the process of making games and creating new worlds in this medium. This is the impact that few people have had in this area. Usually, when a masterpiece or a flowing work is produced, in the first days we don't realize that it's going to be flowing. Over time and seeing the effects of a title on other titles or on the gaming industry, we finally come to the conclusion that this game is different than other games. Doom's case was a little different. Doom was actually the biggest pre-entry of the gaming world from the 2D world to the 3D world. It is true that technically Doom cannot be considered the first 3D game in history, but the formula Doom used in his world became a model for all the work that was produced after the game. Here we arrive because of the second, which was an extraordinarily high impact on the games of his time. Naturally, when you produce a different, high-quality product that hasn't been seen before, your product becomes a model for other people's products. When Doom came to market in 1993, for several years we saw games that were weaker copies of the title. Of course, this copying is not always a negative and bad thing, and it causes everyone to add a new piece to the puzzle and push the wheel of the game industry forward. The Marathon game, which came to market a year after Doom, for example, resembled Doom in all respects, but its multiplayer division was much better and stronger than Doom. This was later made much more complete with the release of Halo Combat Evolved, and although Combat Evolved cannot be considered a copycat game of Doom, the positive effects of Doom were clearly seen in the game as well. In 1994, it hosted another game called System Shock, which was a very high quality and impressive game. Doom's effects on this title were also quite evident. System Shock, though, was a bit of a mess at Doom, focusing on designing challenging riddles and storyline. System Shock had much better physics and visual quality compared to most games of its time, and later itself became a model for similar games. LucasArts released Star Wars Dark Forces in 1995. Another game that was directly inspired by Doom but made a key change in one of the features of the game. In Dark Forces, the gamer could look up and down except left and right. This change redefined the concept of 3D game, and was widely used in subsequent games. After Dark Forces, it was Duke Nukem 3D's turn to take the gaming industry one step further forward. Duke Nukem 3D itself can be remembered as one of the most influential games of that era, but with a little precision we see many similarities between this game and Doom. In addition to the elements clearly derived from Doom, the Duke Nukem 3D had a very advanced stage design that differentiated it from similar games. Duke's character was also one of the coolest characters to ever step into video games. Finally, it was Bethesda who, with the release of Elder Scrolls II Daggerfall, slightly distanced itself from the Doom formula and defined a new concept called open world. True, Doom and Daggerfall were very different games, but even Bethesda had learned from Doom gameplay things that could be clearly seen in Daggerfall. In a word, Doom was not only an incredibly special and enjoyable game, but it also made a big leap in the video game industry. The effects of the game were so bold that the creators are still trying to achieve the pure action formula of the series, but the release of the two games Doom, 2016, and Doom Eternal showed that still no one can implement this formula like the original creators of the game. The last reason I think we should address it is the last two games of the Doom series that I mentioned. True, no one expected the two games to be revolutionary in streaming like the first game of the series, but ID Software once again showed what the action style means. Doom's return to the world of modern games had a lot of old fans worried, because no one wanted to see failure of Doom in today's world. But the creators brought this series to the modern world as if they had been waiting for such days since 1993 to show us the real potential of this game. Relentless action, open environments and no trenches, high enemy diversity, unique guns, unique environment design and balance. In place of these two games, Doom is not only not far from its roots, but it is moving toward evolution. There are still so many things that co-style games can learn from Doom. As the gaming industry progresses, I personally look forward to the new games in this series. For example, launching a Doom game that fully supports VR can be a new yet familiar experience for all fans of the game. The options are infinite and Doom worlds are infiniter. Frankly, Doom is one of the few streaming games that to date has been able to defend its identity well and have great respect among the people of the game community. It is also one of the few games that still has not outdated its formula and even becomes more attractive. Doom can be referred to as a quintessentially futurized game.